Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview, this time covering VCT Americas Stage 1, Week 1 in this 2025 season. My guest at this time is none other than NaturE, the IGL of Evil Geniuses, coming off of their opening match victory over 2-game esports in said competition. So NaturE, gotta give my thanks to you for this quick opportunity for another interview. Last time we talked was around like at this same kind of point in 2024, we're roughly a year on with a new team, new kind of identity. But before we get into all of that business, I gotta ask you, how are you feeling after coming off of this match against 2G?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, there was definitely some funny moments from us and them, to be honest. Once we loaded into the server, saw like the rankers S comp, or Envy now and tier two, and they were playing like those types of comps. We know it's going to get a little funny. We've scrimmed Envy like a lot and stuff like that. So I just let everyone know we saw the comp. It's going to get funny, but let's just focus on the next round every single time. I don't want us to focus on what happened the round before. So other than that, it felt pretty good. It was not as clean, but that's okay.
You kind of mentioned the comp. Was it for the Haven? Because I believe that was the only time which you guys had like a major difficulty against 2G, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say both were like a more annoying.
Uh,
The thing is, the difference between like Lotus and Haven to me was we won the ISO ults in on Lotus two times on our attack, right? And that's the difference between a 13-11 and a 13-7 to me, because we lost both Haven rounds very early on our defense to the ISO ult, just 4v5 retake, and it's just kind of a little annoying. So I see those rounds as like washes. Like we could be better. We could have a better plan on it, sure, and that's like what the focus will be on. But those rounds to me are like RNG. If we win those and then 5v4 retake, that could also be a 13-7 on Haven. Now there are other rounds that we did some funny stuff, so that will be cleaned up, and then it will be not as close as well.
I mean, it kind of goes into like the sort of, or more so, like it's kind of like a lead into what the perception or more so the preparation, I would assume. Of course, you can kind of correct me on that. When it comes to the perception as to the approach to this kind of game, because everybody kind of like are looking at 2G as like the basement team, the number 12 team. And so I believe the expectation, what from you guys was that, fairly easy game, of course, but like just having to go through the funniness of having to deal with two games composition and game plan. What do you feel was the biggest obstacle that the team had to kind of overcome in order to finish relatively clean, I would say?
I would say for the most part, it's just our word we use is C4, which is like cool, calm, collected, and then there's a bunch of other C's that you can be in the round, and that's very hard to do when you're having to deal constantly with pressure from the double duelists and like the funny duelists, like the ISO and stuff like that. We're ready for ISO, Sova, Shock Dart, stuff like that. There's so many different like combos that can happen so fast with those compositions, and that's why rankers excelled a lot for the period of time that they were. And even though they lost, they will keep excelling. I actually think like 2G, everyone is putting so much like hate on them and stuff like that. And if they're not confident, their game plan going into this, like with the rankers S comp, the ISO, Yoru, stuff like that, it actually makes like a lot of sense. If you're like a low team, and this is like for like maybe even coaching staff to think about, like if my team's not playing very well, we still have chances to win if we make the game so chaotic that the other team's not going to play very well either. So that's kind of like we know that going in. The moment we looked at that, I literally laughed. I said, "Guys, we saw the comp. Like we know what's going to happen." And all it'll take is more stage time, especially against these comps, for us to be able to be C4. Because I mean, I would say even for veteran teams, you are going to have funny rounds playing against this comp, no matter what, where you're not going to make the best decisions 100%. So that's like the really hard thing to deal with.
The fourth C, what do you feel the fourth C was for this occasion?
One more time. I'm sorry.
You said the four C's, cool, calm, collected, but what do you
Oh,
think was the fourth C word for this
control.
occasion?
Controlled. But we have like 100 C words that we
Yeah.
always bring up at different times. But controlled would be the fourth one, and that's like the most important one. Just controlling the game when everything is going crazy.
Oh, for sure. I'm pretty sure this kind of final fourth C word will vary, in the ensuing matches.
Yeah.
It'll change, it'll vary and all that stuff. I want to ask you about the waylay and kind of tying into that, just sort of the perception of the agent from you guys, because I've had opportunities to like talk to IC before the start of stage one, and I kind of asked him, okay, are you guys going to be playing the whale? He kind of didn't really tell me that much, but we saw
Yeah.
you guys use her for Haven. I want to ask you just sort of what are your thoughts on just the effectiveness of Waylay into the comps that we've seen in Haven and probably the other maps that we will see from you guys in due time in regards to the overall game plan.
Okay, I would say the most important thing, and I'm going to bring up actually G2 for this before Waylay came out. They were playing Yoru a lot, and they were doing things like sending Jaw in on the Yoru, getting all the util out, and teleporting out. Now, the tracer ability is what we call it, or like the recall for Waylay, is where you will actually find the most impact, I feel like, in this character, and that's what we were trying to work on a lot. There was a lot of times, like in this game, where we were recalling A Long, letting him go in, see what's there, or letting, like, we got Omen Blind out. He recalled out, we can just re-hit, stuff like that, or we can reset. It's one or the other. And that's like the most important of why this character feels so good, because I don't think dashing in feels that good to me. If I was duelist years ago and I was like, I don't really like this character because I'd way rather play in my smoke than just be in the middle of the open. That's how I feel about when I looked at Waylay the first time. But the recall and how much util, because everyone's playing Breach Teo and all these other agents that are perma util can't play the game. Oh, okay, we just get it all out with a recall and like a breach stun for taking site. So that's like the type of value that Waylay is bringing to most people's game plans, I would say.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure like you probably won't tell me like 100%, but do you feel like it's going to be a type of agent that you guys will be continuing to use later on down the line?
I think it will be tested by every single person, especially now that I think G2 played it yesterday. Yes, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, then we've played it.
Yeah.
So I think people will look more into it. I think people did testing, just scrimming and stuff like that. Won't bring up teams, obviously, but there were a lot of people testing it. And I mean, we'll just see if we'll play it more in the future. It can, I mean, other agents can do like the type of recall where like Jet Dash is back, stuff like that. It just feels a lot worse. So we'll see.
Uh, I wa- of course, I want to pivot real quickly over into just sort of the progression of this version of the squad, because of course, last time I talked to, as I alluded to at the start of this conversation, is a very much more different squad compared to this year. Back then you had APOF and JAWGEMO onto the team. Obviously, JAWGEMO left over to G2, and then APOF parted ways with you guys, and then in their place came in IC and Yay. I mean, from your point of view, how is it like just sort of trying to manage these incoming players while also trying to unlock a newer version of yourself? How do you kind of look at the challenge so far in this year? And on top of that, what do you feel has been the biggest strength and weaknesses that EG has been showing so far in this season, either like in within the actual official matches or outside of it during scrimming and practicing all that stuff?
Okay, I would say that the biggest difference in like the changes between last year and this year is, I would say, majority in the duelist department, just because IC is a much different duelist than Jaw. And this is something that we've had to work on a lot, because we always had to tell Jaw, like, can you relax for a second? You're like literally in their spawn. You know what I mean? We're always trying to pull him back and catch up with him. And then with IC, he's much more team orientated. And then what I said is, like, at the very beginning, I'm like, both work. We just have to work with it like in different ways. If we had Jaw, then we were trying to always catch up, stuff like that. But now we can play a lot more coordinated and stuff like that with IC, and just have like cleaner executes, cleaner rounds. And I think that, I wouldn't say we're struggling with that. I would say that we have like an off balance. Sometimes it looks really clean. The rounds we win usually look insane, 5-0 or flawlessing. Okay. And then we have, and this is our weakness, I would say, as a team, is sometimes we're indecisive, or we're not like thinking ahead instantly. And that's when the rounds get a little wonky. We lose a 1v2, we lose, 2v2, stuff like that. And that's like, I would say, like our struggle right now. And then, we had our funny rounds. I for sure had some funny rounds even today. 5v3, I was
I
trolling a
mean,
little.
I mean, nevertheless, you were still able to finish the second map as like top performing player for your team. It just goes to show like the effectiveness as the one kind of person can bring to a team in a given match. And so it was your turn for this occasion, and I believe it was the A's turn in the first
Yeah.
map. And so yeah, like going over to A, what's that? How is that kind of how has that been like for you, just having to like bring in a player like EA to just sort of manage and having to like deal with like his change in role into the Sentinel?
Okay, I think his change in role in the Sentinel was not the easiest in the beginning. There was for sure a lot of stuff that he was learning. Just traditionally to the traditional Sentinel role, right? Because we were trying him on Chamber a lot and stuff like that early on. But I think Ye brings a very like unique personality because he has a lot of experience that he's been with. Like he's been with huge teams, one event, stuff like that. So he always is like that guy that's I don't know how to best explain this. This might sound mean, but it's like barking back. Like he always wants to develop the round more, make sure that we're like doing like the next step and stuff like that. And like I think that type of challenging that I get, that coach gets and stuff like that is probably what people would say like is a weakness and a strength. Some people don't like that. They don't want to get challenged that much, but I actually think it's like really, really good. Like we're challenging the round. We're really trying to understand. And like what we try to talk about is being intentional in the round. We have this intent going into this round and that's what we're focusing on. And that level kind of gets like uplifted because he's asking so many questions. Can he do this? Can he do this and stuff like that? And like he's just weighing his options out within every single round. So that's like the biggest thing that he brings within the roster.
Oh, for sure. We're definitely seeing flashes of that for the better for this team in today. And I want to squeeze in one more. Got to make sure it's very quick before I'm getting those pings to wrap up. Yes, I just got a ping to wrap up. Road ahead, next opponents. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts on the next on the
100
road
Thieves
ahead?
send, 100 Thieves send for like the next opponents. I'm very excited to play 100 Thieves. We lost our playoff spot in that 1-2 loss to 100 Thieves, and we all felt like we should have won for sure. I think we're both in like okay spots. I would say right now we're like on the up and up, still trying to make sure because we're like having really good practice days and stuff like that, and we just want to make sure we bring that consistently to the match day. That is probably what we're missing: the consistency of playing at an extreme level in the match day. And I think that's probably, in my opinion, what 100 Thieves is probably struggling with as well. They're not bringing their 100 like they're trying to bring their 110% obviously, but they're not able to consistently do that in the match. So I think that will be actually a really close match, and it'll be a very fun match just because we're all friendly with one another. Sentinels will be like the big game for us. Last year, we were down 0-3, played Sentinels, down 10-2 on a map, and then we won that series. And that, to me, was the turnaround. We were like so different within that
Yeah.
buying 10-2. When I said this should not be 10-2, we won this map, and I literally looked at everyone and was like, why do we not calm like this normally? Why are we not playing like this normally? And then that was our bar. So I think that will happen. We're way better, in my opinion, right now as in this roster than what we were at that 0-3 time last year. So
Yeah.
if we do that again with this bar being even brought up higher, I think we'll be really, really good for like contention for playoffs for events.
Not because like I do remember that point in time in which you guys won that match against Sentinels. You guys started going on a good run. I believe you guys lost to Sloud at the very end, and I think that
Very,
kind of like
very.
that took you guys out of the playoff contention. You know, it's just a tough way to go down. But of course, as you kind of been saying, hopefully this can continue. Hopefully, obviously for the better into playoffs and all that other good stuff. So NaturE, gotta give my thanks to you for this interview. Gotta give you my thanks for answering all my questions, providing the insight to the audience regarding what's happening in EG, and of course, gotta give you the best of luck in the road ahead.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for having me.